Wylder, Duchess, Guardian, Recluse, Archer, Parryer, this
there.
dude, and someone we just haven't seen. These are all 8 of the planned characters we'll be playing in Elden Ring Nightreign. Today we'll break down all their abilities and information that we currently know. Let's go! Now, there is a network test happening in February that you can sign up for very soon, actually. Now, based on the image from the announcement tweet, it seems like these first 4 we're going to cover will be the ones we'll be able to play in the network test. It seems like the additional 4 that we'll cover at the back end of this video, you might have to actually wait until the full game comes out. We'll start with Wylder or Wielder or I don't know, like however you correctly pronounce this dude's name. Now, this is the guy that's on the box art. He is equipped with a long sword, and we do see a little buckler in the trailer as well. Now, something to note here that you'll notice with all these characters as well is that in Nightreign, characters will have an ability and an ultimate, and that's very different to traditional Elden Ring. Now, you will be able to switch your armor and your weapons freely based on what you find, but they'll always have an ability and an ultimate that'll stick with them. So it will be quite important based on the character that you are playing, and those abilities and ultimates will really define the specifics of those characters. So let's start with the ability Claw Shot, which is Wylder's grappling hook that can be used roughly every 10 seconds according to PC Gamer. Now, this is a mobility tool that can pull enemies towards you, or you can use it to latch onto the ground to dodge incoming attacks. It also deals damage and can interrupt lighter attacks from enemies as well. Now, their ultimate is the Wedge of Invasion. Wylder charges up an explosive attack and then unleashes it at very close range for big damage, and the longer you hold it, it does increase its potency. We do also see this in the trailer as well on one of those OG Dark Souls bosses. Now, being that the kit here in terms of ability and ultimate is, I don't want to say the word generic, but they're very broad and basic, and it's not really specific to any kind of archetype, and plus the longsword as well. It gives you a lot of freedom in terms of the character expression and, you know, the weapons you might find or the armor, etc. that you want to use. I suspect a lot of people will gravitate away from this character, but it's probably one of the first that most people will play to sort of get their mechanics down for Elden Ring Nightreign. The second character is called Duchess. Now, this is a scout-like character that's equipped with a magic dagger, and the Duchess actually has a unique role where they sidestep rather than roll. So essentially, I'm assuming this is going to be some sort of variation on those sidestep ashfors from Elden Ring rather than a typical roll animation. The ability here, Restage, redeals the last few seconds of damage from both you and allies to a nearby enemy all over again. Extremely effective with team coordination, says PC Gamer, and I absolutely agree that this is probably going to be one of the key reasons that you're going to run the Duchess, is because of this ability, especially on bosses that say you're using all of your ultimates as a team. If you're in like co-oping with 3 people, you pop this ability, they use all their ultimates, and then it reapplies that damage and does extreme mana damage. I could totally see that this is probably going to be one of those abilities that are going to be broken right when the game comes out. The ultimate here is called Finale. It cloaks you and nearby teammates, turning you briefly invisible and dropping enemy aggro. Just another reason why I think this character is going to be extremely popular and useful, because you can drop that enemy aggro, right? Especially when you've only got the 3 days in this roguelike to run around and level yourself up, defeat bosses, collect gear, etc. If you're just charging across the map, like to collect armor, weapons, whatever, dropping that aggro is definitely going to be quite important. But also, I would suspect that having a mechanic that drops enemy aggro and turns you invisible probably means there's going to be a way to cheese some of these boss fights, unless they are absolutely crisp with their boss fight mechanics right at launch and there's no bugs, but there's probably going to be a couple that will be able to cheese with this, no doubt. Now, though the Duchess does have the magic dagger, it's worth noting that because anyone can use any weapon, they just have level requirements now, not stat requirements, based on all the previews that did go out. So essentially here, even though you're starting out with like a more weaker, like generic, like weapon kit, just having that dagger, if you find yourself a really strong weapon, you've got a fantastic ability and ultimate that I do think the Duchess will be quite popular to play. The Guardian is next. This is a tank archetype that PC Gamer states that they have a mechanic that lets you hold up their shield for improved damage reduction. This is the like bird character that we did see throughout the trailer. Their ability is called Whirlwind, which is a ranged AoE swirl of air that damages and interrupts enemies within it. Then the ultimate Wings of Salvation, which we did see in the trailer as well, where they jump up in the air and then dive bomb themselves down. The Guardian flies up in the air before performing a dive bomb attack back to the ground, dealing damage in a wide area and raising the defenses of nearby allies. Hold the button after landing to stay moored in place and tank incoming attacks. So this is definitely a tank focused archetype, but I do like the flavor here that, you know, they do have the wings. They're going to be a bit more mobile and move around. But what's Elden Ring without a good broken mage? And that is the Recluse Recluse. Now, the mage archetype here is basically what it is. It has a passive ability that lets you absorb magic casting FP from enemies, and the ability here is Magic Cocktail. Whenever enemies are hit with any kind of attribute, poison, fire, ice, etc., your attacks on them will collect that attribute. Once you've stored up 3, this ability unleashes a unique attack that varies depending on what you've stored. Very interested to see what that actually is. I assume that if it's poison, fire, like frostbite, ice, whatever that effect is, it's going to then apply that effect to the target, maybe deal some sort of AoE to ones around it. Be very interesting to see how those unique attacks actually play out. The ultimate is Song of the Blood Soul. This attack marks all nearby enemies to allow your team to heal while attacking them, and I believe deal extra damage, says PC Gamer. Now, interesting about this, again, is it just seems like it's a little bit more broken than our classic box art character Wylder here. So another set of fantastically unique abilities that also allows you to heal your allies, which is very crucial, I assume, because this is going to be a bit more of a co-op experience. And looking at the boss fights we saw in the trailer, they're going to be quite challenging. So having a way to heal, especially in that like 3 dog fight, right? You pop that ultimate, allows you to heal up a little bit, definitely going to be quite valuable to have. Plus then you've got, say, a mage healer archetype here, you've got a tank archetype with the guardian, and then you've got these other roles that sort of fit around that. The next character we have seen quite a bit of, but we don't rightly know what the actual abilities are at this point. That's the archer. Now, we did see them quite a fair bit throughout the trailer. It has been said in interviews that they will have an expanded targeting system that allows them to wield bows a bit more like a third-person shooter. Exactly what that looks like in terms of UI and in practice, we have no idea, but it does sound valuable considering how clunky some of those bow mechanics are in Elden Ring, especially if you're using it a bit more freely and like stuck to using the bow. This is one that I'm very interested to know if, say, this is going to be consistent across all the characters. Say if you pick up a bow, you'll get that same like expanded targeting system, or if this is unique to the archer specifically. That's something I'm very interested to find out myself. Now, we don't really see what their abilities are, though there is this one section in the trailer where you do see them standing on like a stone platform and they're sort of like shooting their arrow, which I do suspect will be like their basic ability here to levitate them above the ground to avoid some of those attacks, which is going to be crucial because they're a ranged character, right? You definitely want enemies to attack your melee characters like the Guardian or something like that. This gives them a little bit of freedom to hang back in the back line, deal damage from range, and stay away from those attacks. Keen to see more though on our little archer friend. The Parryer is what PC Gamer described this character, and we did see quite a bit of them in the trailer and during the interview with From Software. PC Gamer was told that this character does have a moveset based on the deflecting hard tier parry mechanic from the Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree, which essentially is recreating that Sekiro style parrying system, which is fantastic. I'm very interested to see how this character does play out. Now, we do see in the trailer that they do like this parry mechanic and then follow up with some sort of like holy damage attack. They do have a katana, really sick sort of look. I'm very interested to see more about this character and what their actual abilities are. For example, is this like deflecting hard tier parry mechanic? Is that like their passive? You know, we talked about how the Recluse has that passive, as well as the Guardian with holding their shield, and like the Duchess has like the sidestep. Is the passive here for this Parryer character that deflecting hard tier, or is that one of their abilities? Specifically, I am curious to know how that works. The last 2 characters we know very little about, except for the Horned Warrior, which we did actually see in the trailer. Now, they are wielding some sort of 2-handed axe here. What their abilities are, we don't 100% know yet or have any real specific information on them, except they do sort of do this weird charged up animation and then leap themselves in the air, sort of like off a rock as well. So potentially there's some sort of rock mechanic here similar to what the archer has, but maybe a bit more melee focused, where the archer's obviously ranged. Not exactly sure, and this is one that we're going to have to wait a long time to find out for, I suspect. Just like the last character, which all the information we know of right now is based on what FromSoft said, that there is going to be a character that can use Spirit Ashes in the game to summon Spirit Ashes from Elden Ring. How this actually works and what this character even looks like, we have no idea. We haven't seen a single thing about this character, which is good to me. I think it's nice to have a little bit of mystery about these characters. Very interested to see what this character's going to look like, what their ability is. Is that the Spirit Ash, or are they going to have a different one on the ultimate? Let's say, you know, their ability is just summoning the 3 wolves and their ultimate is, you know, summoning some other more powerful Spirit Ash. Who knows what that could be? Maybe it's a Mimic Tier or something, you know? But this was probably going to be the solo recommended character, I suspect, because then it allows you to summon like companions in a way to help you in these environments and encounters encounters, because this is obviously geared towards that 3-player co-op. So I imagine this might be one that is going to be geared a little bit more to that solo experience, but we'll have to wait and see, obviously, until we get our hands on the game and the characters. But let me know in the comments which of these characters you're most excited for. I personally can't wait to see more on the Parryer and how that mechanic actually works in Nightreign. But thank you guys for watching this video till the end. Thank you to our members for supporting the channel. My name is Norza, and I hope you have a great day.